Hi everyone! So I hope everyone is having a great weekend, and I am here today to share an unboxing of Hero Art's July 2019 color layering lake themed card kit, and I'm also going to share a card project that I made using the kit. So let's get started by taking a look at the contents. So the kit itself comes wrapped in this lovely deep purple tissue paper that you can also incorporate into your card designs if you like. And then there are two little packets included in the kit. One packet has a stamp set, a 6x8 inch clear stamp set, and then coordinating dies. And then this other little package has 5 ink cubes and some embossing powder, and then 4 sheets of cardstock. And we're going to take a look at all of that before we get into our fun color layering card project. Okay, so first let's remove the ribbon that is holding the kit together, and it's this great, it's kind of like a plastic ribbon. There is a blue ribbon and then a green ribbon, and they work really nicely with the colors in this kit. They're very inspirational to kind of get you into the mood to create some lake scenes. So this is the packaging for the kit, and I just love this little scene of a lake at either sunrise or sunset, and I think it would be lovely to try to recreate that scene using these stamps. And these are the stamps that come with this month's kit, and they are color layering stamps. So there are 3 different sets of color layering stamps. There is this mountain here, and then there are these trees, and I'm going to show you how to use them to get the color layering effect. And then we also have this dock that you can use to make a really nice lake scene that has a lot of, I'm trying to think of the right word, perspective, that's it. And then there are these little characters as well that you can use to make it look like they're jumping into the lake. We have some great sentiments: greeting from my happy place, sending a splash of love, life is better at the lake, it's your birthday, relax and enjoy, and wish you were here. So there are also a bunch of dies that I'm going to show you which dies there are. And then this is the back side of the packaging. I just love that little toasted marshmallow scene there. That's also very inspiring. I think it would be fun to try to recreate that scene as well. And now these are the dies that come with the kit. There are dies for, I think, almost all of the images here. So we have dies for the deck, and even though we have 2 deck images, you only need 1 die because the 2 deck images are color layering. So you're only going to use that to make 1 deck, and either you could cut out either image using that same die. And then we have this die for the tops of the trees and for the top of the mountains as well. And then we also have some more for the little weeds or whatever that is growing in near the lake. We have these little people who are jumping in the lake that we have dies for, and then this little man and his dog in a boat. There's also a little tire as well, or is that a float? I don't remember, but there are also these little ducks. And then here are 2 standalone dies, one for mountaintops and then the other one for treetops. So if you don't want to use the stamps and you just want to go with a die cut scene, you could do that as well using this kit. So next, let's take a look at the inks that come with the kit. And there are 5 mini ink cubes this month. Before we get to those, let's just look at the embossing powder. It's this blue pearl embossing powder. I haven't used it yet, so I'm not sure what it's going to look like heated up, but it is this kind of white, clear, sparkly embossing powder. So it'll be fun to use that and see how it works. Probably would be good if you want to make some froth in your lake. So make it look like there's some little bubbles or waves or something in the lake, or water ripples. It could be good for that. Maybe good for clouds in the sky as well. And then there are these 4 half sheets of cardstock in green and blue. I don't know the exact colors, names of them, but they're green and blue. And then we have 5 ink cubes in lime green and forest, sandstone, cocoa, and then dusty blue. And these colors, I'm going to show you how to use them to make some great colored layered images for our card project later in the video. So I'm just showing you what the colors look like. So we have this pretty lime green, and then we have this darker forest green, and we're going to use both of those to make some color layered trees. And then we have this medium brown sandstone, and then a much darker brown in cocoa, and we're going to use these two colors to make our color layered dock in a bit. And then we have this gorgeous sky blue. It's called Dusty Blue, and we are going to use that for our water as well as our sky later on. So one last look at our little ink cubes before we move on to our card project. It's just gorgeous. I love those colors. It's just perfect for the lake themed summer vacation cards that you can make with this kit. All right, so let's get started with our card project. And I'm going to take the Dusty Blue ink that's included in the kit, and I am going to apply it with my blending tool. And this is just a cheap makeup brush that I found on Amazon. It's a cheapo version of those fancy picket fence brushes that you see everyone using on YouTube and Instagram. But for my purposes, I find that it works fine, although I haven't tried the picket fence brushes, so I can't compare, but I think it looks good enough. And what I'm doing here is I'm trying to leave a little blue stain on my cardstock so that it gives the appearance of a lake, and then with maybe a little bit of mist coming up from the lake. Now we're going to start with our color layering stamps, and this is the dock stamp, and there are two stamps for this. The first stamp that you're going to use is going to be the one that is completely smooth and has no grooves on it, and that's going to be the base of the color layering stamp, and we are going to season it with some Versamark ink before we apply the pigment ink. To season it, you just apply Versamark ink, and then you wipe it off like I just did with a little piece of cardstock, and then you go and apply your pigment ink after that. And the reason you do that is because the pigment ink might not stick well, or the dye ink might not stick well if you didn't do that. It would look kind of all blotchy. So if you ever tried to use a stamp before and it looked blotchy, that's why. Just season it with some Versamark ink. Now we're going to apply the second layer for our deck. And for that, we are going to use the darker brown ink in the kit, the cocoa one. And as you see, it's going to leave these gorgeous little grooves and shading in our dock to really give it a realistic look. I just love that. For our mountains, I'm going to place our mountains like up towards the top of our scene, and I'm going to season the mountains as well because, again, it's a big smooth area and could be blotchy if I didn't. I'm going to use some Memento London Fog ink for my mountains. I didn't think that any of the 5 ink cubes would really look good for a mountain range, so I wanted something a little gray. Then we're going to add our second layer to the mountains. And for this, I'm going to use the Dusty Blue ink that is included in the kit, and it's just going to give us some nice little shadows and definition to our mountain range. Now we're going to put some trees in front of the mountains. And this is another color layering stamp, and I did season it, but I didn't show it since you've already seen it twice. And I'm going to use my lighter green for that, the lime green. And then we're going to put our second color layering stamp over the trees in the background, and we're going to use the darker forest ink for this layer of trees. So there you have it. Those are the 3 color layering stamps that are included in the kit, and that's how you use them. First layer, smooth stamp, light color. Second layer, stamp with grooves and darker color, and then you'll get a perfect result every time. Now, I thought my trees looked just a little bit flat, so I am just adding some definition in there with my Copic markers, and by definition, I just mean little scribbles just to make it look like there are some branches and leafy things on my trees out in the distance. And I'm just using a shade darker than the green for those trees in the front, and then for those in the back, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to take a lighter green marker and just draw some little scribbles just to make sure that the trees in the background, that they meet up to where the mountaintop is, so these trees don't look like they're just kind of floating in the water. And now we're going to add some little ripply marks into the water, and I'm going to do that with my Copic marker. The stamp set by Hero Arts also has some little ripples that you can stamp right into the water as well as you like, and I'm going to do that in a second just to show you what that looks like. And I'm just kind of trying to make my water pretty, really, is what I'm doing. So I'm taking a B41 and I'm trying to blend that B45, the little B45 ripples that I put in, and I'm just kind of playing. At this point, I didn't really have a plan for this card as I was making it. I really just wanted to get used to the stamps that are in the kit and get a sense of what they could do. So I'm just kind of winging it. So thanks for sharing that experience with me here. But I promise you we'll get somewhere good in the end. There are probably some steps here that I've done that you might not need to do. You may not need to add these Copic details if you don't like. You might just want to rely on the ripples that are included in the kit. And now what I'm doing is I wanted the shadows on my mountains to stand out a little bit. So I'm just going over the markings that were left by the stamp with some B45. And one thing that I wanted to point out is that if you want to get better with your Copic backgrounds, you might want to try with these color layering stamps to, even though they look perfectly well or perfectly good without adding this detail, you might want to just practice tracing where the second layer markings come in, so that if you wanted to do this freehand on your own, you'll have a better sense of how to create a mountain range with realistic shadows and ridges, just by kind of copying and following along what these stamps do. So I'm going to do the same thing for the deck. So I think it looks great just as it is with the color layering definition by the stamps, but I'm just going to darken them up a little bit and add a little bit of my own flair here and there. And this is something else you might consider doing if you just want to learn more about how to draw things in perspective, because we have this dock that is kind of the part that's closest to us is large, and then as it moves away from us, it narrows and gets smaller. So this is also a good exercise if you just wanted to go over the markings with your Copic marker to follow that, so that maybe you could draw a dock freehand someday just by going through this little exercise. All right, so now I cut down my card panel with a die, a wonky stitch die, and I'm just filling in wherever the little blank areas are, wherever the trees don't meet the mountains, or wherever there's kind of a blank spot on the corners where the trees were. There were some white spots where there should have been green. So these are those little water ripples that I was talking about, and there's a big one and a little one, and I'm just playing. I'm just trying to see, like, what would it look like if I use the ripples instead of my marker. And at the end of the day, I decide that I prefer the marker. So I'm just going to go over these markings with markers. If I were to do this again, I would have put the water ripples in first, right after I shaded in my little blue area, and then I would have stamped everything else over that. And I think that would have been a really, really good look. But I found it was kind of hard once you have that little figure in the middle. It was a little bit difficult to add in the stamped ripples. So anyway, so just one idea for you. Otherwise, you could do like I'm doing here with Copic markers. I'm just making sure the sides of the lake are kind of dark, leaving a little highlight in the middle just so it looks all pretty and shiny. And then I'm just going to add a few more trees in the background just to cut off that that kind of harsh green line in the center of the scene. I just want it to look a little bit more natural. And then I want to brighten things up a bit, so I'm going to add my YG13, which is a really, really pretty, bright yellow-green color. And now we're going to add our sentiment. And this one says, "Greetings from my happy place." And I'm just showing you here that that greeting fits perfectly in between the two mountains if you wanted to put your greeting there. But I decided I wanted it more centered, just because there's a whole lot going on in the lower part of my scene. But one way to use this would be to fit that sentiment right in between the mountain ridge. Might look nice on a landscape card, I think, doing that maybe. I just wanted to add some more definition to my mountaintop, so that's why I went over it again with the stamp, even after I did my Copic coloring. And now I'm just fussing a little bit more, just trying to pretty everything up and make it look a little bit more perfect, a little bit more finished. And I'm just using my B45 and my B91 to do that, which are really, really pretty colors for water, especially for lakes, I think. And now we're going to add this whole card panel onto an A2 size card base. And I just love it. So that's our little card project for today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope everyone is having a great time with your kits. I'd love to hear what you're working on, and I'd also love to hear what types of projects you'd like to see me make with this kit, as I will be playing with it for the next few days. So watch out for some more videos on this kit on YouTube and also on Instagram. All right, have a great weekend, everyone. I'll see you again soon in the next video.